Cater Dallas Fort Worth, KYJC Commerce, and KMWC Bethany. On the web at kdkr.org and on all your devices with the Live 365 app. Portions of KDKR programming do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or staff.
Prudent Money with Bob Brooks is sponsored by the Prudent Money Foundation on 91.3.
Well, what are some major red flags when buying a car? Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for the special Car Corner edition of Prudent Money. Good afternoon. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Tony Joe's with me, as he is every Friday, to take your Car Corner questions, and the number to call is 1-877-913-5357. We'd love to hear from you today, whatever's on your mind, and Tony Joe's sitting here with an open line, so give us a call and we'll get you on. Tony Joe, how you doing?
I am doing fine, and I'm just happy to be here. Just happy to be here for this 30 minutes out of the heat.
Well,
you don't know about. I do take exception to that little heater you got under there because you think it's a little too chilly in the building, but.
Well, it gets that way, and you got and listen. If you need to borrow that for the shop,
yeah, can I take that back to the shop with me today when it's 106 inside? I might need to turn it up like 1 degree.
Does it really get that hot?
It was
in there?
yesterday, but I think it was 104 yesterday anyway. But it's a little hotter in the building, yeah.
But isn't this summer though been pretty mild?
Yeah, it's been pretty good.
It's been pretty good.
I'm not complaining. Listen, my first summer in Texas ever was 1980. So every summer since then has been a cakewalk, but 2011 was a little hard to get through. That was pretty close, but it still didn't beat 1980.
You know, I was going through the process of getting my car registered, and the front light was out.
Okay.
And so I got to thinking, as it took 5 minutes to give me my ticket, that everything was fine, how dangerous that is, that all these cars with bad tires and front headlights out and just get approved. No problems. Nothing's stopping them from driving on the road.
Bob, you don't need to have even working windshield wipers anymore. Think about this. You don't even need to have your brake lights working.
That's scary.
Keep in mind when you're driving and sharing the road with others that may not be able to financially be able to keep their car up quite as good as maybe you could. You know, no brake lights. I mean, do you think about that?
Yeah,
you know,
that's
you
a
don't
problem.
really pay
problematic.
attention. You know, you don't pay attention until all of a sudden it may be too late, and you realize the guy just came to a screeching stop, but you didn't know it. No brake lights.
That's unbelievable.
I don't understand that law that was passed at the beginning of this year. I just don't think it was a good idea.
No, it makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever.
No, it doesn't. But what is a good idea is to convey to everybody listening to always be vigilant now and know that the rules have changed. Know that you're sharing the road with cars that don't have to be inspected for the safety portion anymore. So bald tires, wipers that streak or don't even work, 2 headlights don't have to work. You can have blinker lights that don't work, brake lights don't work. It's all just like the wild, wild west now.
Surely there's got to be somebody who's collecting data somewhere to show that.
Keep in mind, here's the thing. Keep in mind, a police officer will usually stop you for a headlight out if you're driving at night. That's a good way to get stopped. Also, the license plate or tag light on the rear of the vehicle. You know, when you rob that bank, Bob, they want to be able to read your plate number as you're driving off. So those are things that will get you stopped.
I'll keep that in mind.
And then hopefully, maybe a police officer will look at the car and, I don't want anybody to get a ticket, but if you got bald tires that really, really are bald and you need them replaced.
But think about something, though. When's the last time, Sherry was bringing this up to me the other day, she goes, when's the last time that you saw a police officer patrolling and giving tickets. I mean, you rarely see that anymore.
Well, yeah, but still, that's because
Right?
that's not because that's just
And that's not
because of
nothing negative towards them. I'm just
No,
saying you
it's
just
it's a lack. They're operating on not a skeleton crew, but they don't have the police officers available
right,
that they used
right.
to have. Recruiting is a problem. Becoming a police officer, I mean, look at the trouble it causes. Nobody wants to be a cop anymore, hardly.
it's a
you know.
shame.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing too that is new, which people I think are still trying to use to, or will be when they go through the process of buying a car. No more paper tags,
No.
and that I was not aware of that.
July 1st, no more paper tags. They're not going to do that anymore because there's too much fraud and money. What do you call it when it's fake money? What's the word I'm looking for?
No.
Counterfeiting. You can just make paper tags on a printer.
Oh,
They've
okay,
discovered
right,
that
right.
They're counterfeit paper tags, and people are using them for nefarious purposes and driving around with them. And so now they've ruled that out.
So do they use the same license plates that came on the car? They just switch registration on it? How do they? Do you know?
They'll keep the tags, the hard tags on it until when you buy a car.
Do you end up still getting new tags?
Yes, you do. But you're going to have the hard tags that were on the car until you get the new tags.
Oh, okay.
So you'll get your new license plates and get everything just like it always was, but you don't get that 20-day or 30-day temporary tag made of cardboard.
You know, someone had asked me about the alignment in wheels. Talk a little bit about that, because I think that there's the misconception. What is a misconception? That I get my car aligned and it just drives perfectly straight, no problem. It doesn't really work that way.
Well, that's kind of a misnomer. Like, I remember one time you asked me about your car, and you said it kind of veers to the right. Well, that doesn't mean it's out of alignment. You have to understand the construction of the road surface. It is built to be crowned at the middle of the road, whether it's a 4-lane, 2-lane, LBJ, 8 lanes each. I mean, the middle of the road is crowned. It's a higher point than both sides because water runoff is necessary to keep the roads not flooded. So think about this. If you're on your side of the road, which is the right side, and you're driving down the road, and it's a 2-lane, small asphalt, blacktop, concrete road, whatever. If you're on the right side of the road, it should crown down to your right, which means if you let go of your steering wheel, I do not want people to think it shouldn't pull. I mean, if you let go of the steering wheel, it shouldn't just pull to the right, but it should veer to the right gently. In other words, you're following the contour of a downhill slope. So if you're on the right side of the road, which I hope you are, because that's the side you're supposed to be on, your car should gently veer off to the right. If you ever want to check it, this is not advice that I'm telling anybody to do anything foolish, but there's a lot of neighborhood streets where, you can get in the middle, make sure nobody's coming either way. Just get in the middle of the road and you will find out that the car seems to go straight. And when you're back on the right side of the road, that's when you'll feel it kind of veer off to the right again. That's as is. That's the way it should be.
How tough is it to knock a set of wheels out of alignment? Do you have to really...
Well, Bob, see, here's the thing. It depends on the vehicle. You take an F-350 Ford pickup, which is a truck chassis with, say, 4-wheel drive, a really heavy-duty front end. It's going to be a lot harder to knock that thing out of alignment than it would for some of the smaller, like some of the light-duty sedans and SUVs that we have today. They're basically front-wheel drive. They're kind of built light-duty because of fuel economy, and so it's easier to knock those out of alignment. And what really hurts your car, whether a lot of people know it or not, you can affect the front end alignment a lot by speed bumps. Speed bumps, hitting them at a funny angle can actually shift the lower control arms and knock things out of alignment somewhat if you hit them too fast, number one, and at an angle. So you always want to try to approach a speed bump straight on and go slow. Both wheels go up over that speed bump at the same time, and I'm talking about the front of the vehicle. That's how you can kind of get even pressure on both sides, and the car should maintain its integrity with the front end alignment. But if you pull up to a curb and you don't really use good judgment and you use the curb as your feeling point, in other words, you hit it with the tire to say, "Oh, I'm there," that's not a good practice, because that will eventually misalign things on the front end, causing you tire wear and pull and loose front end parts, so forth. You know, you try not to hit the curb when you're pulling up in front of somebody's house. Just judge where you are, do the best you can, so you're a couple of inches away or 5 inches away. So what? You're close enough. You don't use the curb as a feeler, you know.
Let's talk a little bit about red flags when buying a used car. This is good information to know, because it's just, you know, what's interesting about buying a car is that you take the all the emotion that goes along with it. You want everything to work out. You want to find that perfect car. You want to get a good deal. You want to get financed.
Well, of course, everybody wants
the
that.
same. Yeah. Those emotions tend to get in the way of common sense and clear thinking. And so we thought we'd go through some of these. You know, the first one on here, I love this: suspiciously low price. When, you know, everything's got a going value, and when you run across a car that's below that's listed below the going value, there's got to be something wrong with it.
Yeah, and I like to ask people, many times they'll approach me with a question like that, and they'll say, "That seems pretty inexpensive for that, you know, what they could get for that car." Well, there may be a good reason. We don't know yet. But first, find out what you can. What's the story? Why is it lower than? Is there a reason? Is there a legitimate reason? Somebody in trouble, they need quick money, blah, blah, blah. I mean, if you're buying it on a sales lot and it's suspiciously low, you may not be able to investigate fully the reason why that car is priced cheaper. Then I would suspect highly, if it's on a sales lot and it's too cheap, yeah, that's when I would really, really suspect something's up. But you can run across deals with private individuals selling a car where it can be what you would consider suspiciously low, but is there a reason? And if that reason doesn't make sense, use your instincts. If that doesn't sound like the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, then you have a reason to be suspicious.
You know, I was just thinking that if you were selling your car outright yourself, private sale, that everybody's got their line in the sand where they go, "I just don't want to deal with this anymore." And that's when you can find a good deal, once they just get to the point where just get rid of it.
It happens, yep. People have, there's a lot of reasons you can buy a car lower than the normal trade-in value or market value. But you need to know what those reasons are. That's all I'm saying.
The next one is salvage or rebuilt title. I was just thinking about that. Really, the only way that you would, you correct me if I'm wrong, know that is by pulling up a Carfax, right?
No, it'll be listed right on the title. Salvage
okay.
title only, yep.
In the paperwork.
Right on the title. It'll say salvage title. And, of course, you know, don't jump to conclusions. Find out what the information is first.
What would cause it to have a salvage?
Salvage title means that the car was in an accident and the insurance company appraised the damage to be more than 70% of the value of the car, so they decided to total it, which in many cases the customer has the right to buy it back. If they want to buy it back, the insurance company will pay them a certain amount of money for the damages, and then they buy the car back. So now they have a check for the damages, and they have the vehicle for whatever price they paid for the vehicle. It differs with different insurance companies. So why would you want to do that? Well, in many cases, you can have superficial damage that's all fenders and headlights and maybe some electronic stuff that isn't really affecting, you know, cosmetic stuff doesn't really affect anything important as far as the way the car's going to drive and run afterwards. Now, it's up to the customer to have to make those repairs out of the check he got or out of his pocket, but there's times when you can have just superficial damage that exceeds the value of fixing the car. You'll get a salvage title. And then you're going to have to go through, you got to jump through a couple of hoops to get a salvage title, renew your license plate tags. But once you do that, I mean, there's not a problem anymore. You have to.
So if you fix everything, can you ever get it removed?
No. You
It's
never
always
get it
there.
removed, but you can get your car licensed again and drive it. And if you're somewhat knowledgeable and you kind of know that all this damage was, banged up fenders and all the fenders were replaced and rusted all the headlights. You know, Bob, some of those headlights are 1,200. I mean, 1,200 is not the maximum, but some headlight assemblies now can be very, very expensive.
Right.
So
right.
when you crash the front of a car and you break the grill and the bumper cover, a couple of headlights, and maybe the hood, you can exceed the damage. If it's an older vehicle, you can exceed the damage just with that, but it's all cosmetic stuff.
Right.
It's not like somebody had to weld the frame back together and, you're driving around on a hope and a prayer. So.
The third one on the list was odometer tampering. Talk a little bit about how that would work.
You know, the thing about odometer tampering is not quite as critical as it used to be. What you will find in the old days was you could change the numbers on a analog odometer, which read 75,125 miles and 0.6. And you could, mechanics or thieves, whoever, they could turn the dials back and make it whatever they want. But you used to look for things like the pedals on this, the brake pedal and the gas pedal look like this car's been around a lot more than 75,000 miles just by the wear and tear.
Right.
And you can look at other things on the car. But, interestingly enough, today, the mileage is registered not only on the odometer on the instrument panel, but it's also registered in the computer. So you can oftentimes find fraud just by comparing the odometer that's listed on the computer as compared to the odometer that's reading on the dash. And it's kind of difficult now. It can be done, but it's not quite as common as it used to be because, number one, it's hard to have the equipment and the know-how to do the digital readouts like they have now, as opposed to the old days where they had the analytical numbers that would just flip around. Then you can always record it in the computer and find fraud there. So not so much anymore do you have to worry about that. That's kind of a thing of the past.
This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Actually, the special Car Corner edition of Prudent Money, which we do every Friday. If you had a question for Tony Joe, 1-877-913-5357. And I would love to hear from you today, whatever's on your mind. Let's talk a little bit about, and this to me would be a non-starter. You tell the salesperson that, hey, I want my mechanic to check out the car, and they say, well, I can't do that. That would be a non-starter right there.
Yeah, unwillingness to not have an independent inspector come in. Bob, think about this. If you were going to buy a house, a really major purchase, and you didn't have it inspected by an independent inspector, is that even legal? Don't you have to do that when you buy a house? I can't remember.
Yeah, well, think about it. I think when you start talking about bank loans,
right?
And,
don't they make you have it inspected?
I believe so. Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, it's not as major of a purchase as buying a house. Although I will say this: some cars today cost more than the first house I bought.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. You could easily spend.
When I bought my first house, it was $65,000. And I was wondering how I was ever going to pay for that thing. And now I see some of the four-wheel drive Suburbans going for $105. I'm like, really?
Yeah,
wow.
That's crazy. How about unexplained gaps in service history?
Unexplained gaps in service history. Well, There's a lot of people that just don't keep good records anyway. Let me
Right.
just start by saying that. But if a customer has been keeping records and
That's a
there's a
definite-
gap in it,
Yeah.
then I would wonder why didn't they keep records during that point of time? So yeah, that would be a red flag.
What a gift, though, if you had complete records on a
Bob,
car.
I try to tell
And,
people all the time.
It's
e-
worth something.
Every time I give a customer a receipt when they pick up their car, especially the younger people, I go, are you keeping records of all this? Put this with your paperwork so you'll have a record of it. Because cars that have good record keeping and good maintenance records are worth more when you go to trade them in or sell them. That's just a plain fact. And it's so easy to just keep a log of your records. Just find a folder, even if you're not organized, throw everything in there, and when the day comes, then you can sort it all out and put it in order by date and all that. But, just keep a record of all your repairs and make sure you keep them in a central location so that when the day comes, when you need it, there you have it.
This to me would be tough unless if you got a professional eye for it to spot, but inconsistent paint or body panels. That could be a huge red flag.
Well, that's a good way to tell that the car's been hit and
Right,
repainted,
right.
yes, of course. And then that would lead, I guess, Bob, what you're asking, I guess that would lead me to pull a fax report on it.
Right.
If I saw two different tones in the paint, that doesn't mean the painter was that good. It could be that, but we don't know. I mean, cars can be painted for several reasons. Number one, the UV rays here in Texas just eat the clear coat off, and then, you eventually you have it painted or you have part of it painted. And if it doesn't match good, that's a possibility. But then if I saw that, I would at least want to pull a Carfax on that, just for that reason alone. Yeah, that would be a red flag.
What about unusual noises during test drive? What would you call unusual noises?
Well, it's hard to tell people to explain what noises are unusual because I've heard just about every noise there is, and they're all unusual. As far as that's an unusual noise unless you know what it is. Then it's, hey, you got a pair of shocks in the back that need to be replaced. So for a customer, for a person that doesn't know about cars, explaining unusual noises, this is where the independent inspection would come in. You got some noises in the car. Any car can have noises, but let's find out if they're serious or not. Let's find out what those noises are. So you're not buying a lemon. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is where the inspection would come in.
This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Special Car Corner edition of Prudent Money. We're talking about red flags when buying a used car, and without question, always want to get that car checked out to make sure it's okay. One of the listings here is electrical issues. What kind of electrical issues are you looking for?
Well, number one, you want to start the car up, look at the dashboard, see if there's any warning lights on. Electrical issues. Let's take how many cars, Bob, I don't know if you're aware of this, but do you know the average vehicle now has 15 to 20 different processors or computers on it? You start the car up and you think, well, that is an annoying little light, but doesn't seem to be that important. Well, if it's a anti-lock brake light coming on in conjunction with, say, the vehicle stability control or the traction control, I mean, all this stuff can be so expensive to replace or repair or even difficult to diagnose in many cases. So when you see the lights that are on and you're not sure what they are, go to the owner's manual or get enough information before you buy this car. Understand what every one of those lights that's on the dash mean. I have run into people with the warning lights that they don't understand. Come to find out, a lot of it is benign. Like, for instance, the tire monitor light. Okay?
Right.
Well, that means the tire monitor system is not registering properly. Either you got a bad sensor in the tire or something or the tire's low. But that would not be as important or as severe as, say, like an airbag light. I mean, airbag light is on. That means the airbags aren't going to work if you have an accident. Well, that's a pretty big deal, and it needs to be investigated to find out what's wrong with the airbag system, because airbags are $1,200, $1,500 a piece. So if you got a bad airbag or you got a bad sensor or something like that, it can be quite costly.
Yeah, there's so many things that dashboard can tell you.
So many things that people don't understand that go on that dashboard.
This is Bob Brooks. If you got a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time, keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.